Today we're looking at the state of British politics.
Asking, is technology ruining football?
Are we too obsessed with our phones?
Helen from Hull wants to know, how hot's the planet going to get?
And we'll explain why prices keep going up and up.
Also, Rach, did you know space has its own smell?
Really? What of? The world is fast-moving and can be confusing.
So let's talk about it.
5 Live Breakfast with Rachel and Rick. Listen on BBC Sounds.
Newscast is different to the stuff that we all do in our day jobs because it's like a proper chat.
Something big's just happened.
And then we're just like, right, gonna do an episode.
We've all tried to get together.
We're just all working something out, and then you sort of have a eureka moment.
What you need to know when you need to know it.
Newscast. Listen every day on BBC Sounds.
Morning. Come and have a seat. Now, of course, I'm not going to go easy on you. There are some really big questions we've got to try and get answers to this morning. But I'll be fair, and we just want to hear what you've got to say. So, shall we get on with it?
We're rolling.
Here we go. Join me to hear from the biggest names inside and outside politics.
Sunday with Laura Koonsberg. Sundays at 9 on BBC One and iPlayer.
Live from London, this is BBC News. UK Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer sets out his policy to stop migrant boat crossings.
We will set up a new command with new powers, new resources and a new way of doing things. Border Security Command.
Israel's Prime Minister vows to press ahead with the offensive against Hamas in Rafah in defiance of US calls for restraint. And Israel is through to Saturday's Eurovision final despite protests over the country's war in Gaza. Hello, I'm Geeta Guru-Murthy. Welcome to BBC News Now. Border security, migration and asylum seekers crossing the Channel in small boats are expected to be major issues during the UK election. Today, the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer is in Dover, where he's been outlining how his party will tackle them. Let's have a look at exactly what the Labour Party is planning to do. Sir Keir Starmer is promising to set up a new border security command to crack down on people smugglers if his party wins power. He's also pledging to hire hundreds more specialist investigators and cross-border police. Meanwhile, counter-terror powers would be extended to cover organised immigration crime, including the power to search people suspected of being involved in people smuggling, close bank accounts and restrict their travel and trace their movements before an offence has actually taken place. Labour says £75 million worth of the money that's currently allocated for the first year of the Rwanda scheme would fund their plans.
As the first step in this plan, a new manifesto commitment. We will set up a new command with new powers, new resources and a new way of doing things. Border Security Command. Now, this is about leveraging the power and potential of dynamic government based on a counter-terrorism approach which we know works. An end to the fragmentation between policing, the border force and our intelligence agencies. A collecting of the standards. So the border protection becomes an elite force, not a Cinderella service.
Well, our political correspondent Harry Farley spoke to us earlier from Westminster about the noticeable difference now between Labour and Conservative approach on this question.
Labour saying that they will scrap the government's Rwanda scheme. That's the plan to send those arriving in small boats to the UK, to send them to Rwanda. Labour saying that they would take a law enforcement approach, and as you said, you outlined the details there of the Border Security Command that Labour said they would set up. Sir Keir Starmer arguing that the government's Rwanda scheme, he characterised it in what he said was a series of gimmicks that wouldn't actually tackle the problem. He pointed to other mooted ideas, like sort of things like a wave machine in the Channel that sort of appeared in newspapers but didn't actually make it into policy. And he's saying that the Rwanda scheme is just another in those latest series of gimmicks. I think one thing just to point out is that he was asked afterwards how many small boats his Border Security Command would tackle, how many the numbers crossing would reduce. He didn't give a specific figure. He said that he would look to materially reduce the numbers coming across the Channel in small boats, but didn't put a number on it and didn't say ultimately that his scheme would stop small boats crossings. The other thing to point out is that Sir Keir Starmer made a lot in his speech about how he would improve asylum processing in the UK by putting more funding into it, by hiring new caseworkers to process those who are in the UK trying to claim asylum. And he said that they would be processed more quickly, and then those who fail to get asylum would be returned. But I think the difficult question is actually the largest group, the largest nationality that came over in small boats to the UK last year was from Afghanistan. And obviously we don't have a returns agreement with Afghanistan. Afghanistan is currently run by the Taliban. And so he said that he didn't really have an answer for where those people who come from countries like Afghanistan or even Iran would be returned to. So I think a couple of caveats there, but certainly a stark difference between the Conservatives, who